Assassins hiding the face of the ocean, kill the enemy and leave in silence. Since being born, submarines have always been the terror of surface ship sailors, but they do have some potentially terrifying risks. So what's the cause of submarine accidents? By technology or people? Is there any all progress comes at the cost of life? Submarines are commonly known as a special type of boat that operates underwater. There are also many types of ships, designed for the purpose of exploration, travel service, or civil activities. However, many countries, they usually use submarines for military purposes. Recorded human history, who invented the world's first submarine, with the application of his mathematician's ideas. William Bond launched on 1578. He's also known as a physicist, the inventor of the thermometer. He lived in the palace of King Jacques I, and the deputy of the princes and princesses with time, and through many ups and downs, submarine up to the present time. It has become an integral part of the navies of the world's great powers. Technologies on the submarine along with that, it's getting more modern. However, the risk of disasters, when ships operate in the deep sea, it's becoming an increasingly alarming problem. Russia, or the former Soviet Union with its vast military potential, has not stopped producing military superlatives. To make the whole world bow down in admiration, typical first is the ship Ka-4A Crush. It's one of the symbols for the next generation of nuclear submarines. It's called Oscar class. Shipbuilding began in the 90s at the Navy's military shipyards in the port city of Severodvinsk, north of this country. During Crush construction, the Federal Digital Writing collapsed, but the work continues. The ship was launched on December 9, 1900. It was one of the first naval ships to be completed after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. It's a missile submarine, the second largest cruise ever built. Kuss inherited the most modern Soviet technology, with 2 OK-650B nuclear reactors and 7-bladed propellers, helped the ship reach a speed of 59 kilometers per hour diving air. It can stay underwater for up to 120 days. Ship this 154 meters longer is designed to be able to fight a group of ship combat airports on the U.S. side, equipped with 24 P-700 Granite cruise missiles and 8 torpedo tubes in the nose. P-700 Granite rocket with supersonic speed, and there's a smart target selection mode. Need to know more that just one Type 65 torpedo with a 450-kilogram warhead is strong enough to sink an entire airfield nest for more than 5 years of operation, cast only once on a 6-month mission. That's when it was deployed to the Mediterranean in the summer of 1999 to monitor the U.S. 6th Fleet during the Kosovo crisis, October 8, 2000. She joined 29 other ships in the Summer X class. Russia's first large-scale naval exercise for over 10 years, the ship is fully loaded with weapons and fuel. It became one of the few naval vessels to be equipped. Fight at all times. On the first day of the exercise, CAST successfully launched the P-700 Granite rocket, mounting the warhead Raw Morning 12/8. It's scheduled to launch 2 dummy torpedoes without warheads into the cruiser. Peter the Great at 11:28 local time seismologists recorded 2 underwater explosions at sea. They occur 134 seconds apart, and the Russian Navy lost contact with the Crush from there. The first explosion is equivalent to 250 kilograms of TNT. Second batch equivalent from BA to 7T TNT explosive, and can be recorded as far away as Alaska in the United States. Russian Navy report claims that a form of hydrogen concentrated peroxide used as propellant for torpedoes has seeped through a faulty weld. This chemical, when catalyzed, will expand by a factor of 5,000. Oxidation reaction produces strong pressure, ruptured the fuel tank containing kerosene, and caused an explosion, the second of the torpedoes. In the cabin 2 minutes later, the nearby K-18 Karelia submarine recorded the explosion, but the captain thought it was part of the exercise. On the cruiser, Peter the Great crew. We've detected a hydrophobic signal, characteristics of an underwater explosion, and felt the hull shake. However, reports from them to the North Sea Fleet went unheeded. Estimated time for Crush to complete torpedo firing ended at 13:30:28 without any contact with the fleet. The commander of the North Sea Fleet sent a helicopter to search at 1700. An Illusion 38 patrol plane has been deployed, and people get no sign of crush after 3 hours of searching. After a failed attempt to contact command of the Russian North Sea Fleet, I was aware of the seriousness of the case and urgently conduct search and rescue operations from 15 to 22 ships with about 3,000 sailors. At 17:13 August, 2,000 rescue ship Mikhail Rudnitsky lowered the Persian AS deep-water rescue vehicle to the seabed until 1830 at a depth of about 100 meters. The flow rate is 2 knots per hour. Persian AS reported that VA touched an object, and through the window, the crew saw the propeller. With a submarine tail stabilizer, the depth of the ship was determined to be 108 meters. The bow of the ship plugs 22 meters deep into the sea. The raised periscope shows that the accident happened when the submersible is less than 20 meters deep, according to the conclusion of the Government Investigation Committee. Ship. It was wrecked by an explosion that happened when it was about to mine into a hypothetical target. Over the past 25 years, though, there are many theories about the real cause behind this tragedy, even just last month. In an interview with Sputnik, Admiral Vyacheslav Popov, the former only commander of the Russian Northern Fleet in Phase 1 ripening to 201, the first nuclear ship incident, it's the result of a VA collision with a NATO submarine. And now a little puzzle. For the audience of military knowledge, follow you, P-700 Granite missile equipped on the crushed submarine. How much is the shot? Answer A, 550 kilometers. Answer B, 500 kilometers. Answer C, 400 kilometers. And answer D, 1,000 kilometers. The time is over. Please comment your answer below. And as usual, watch the end of the video for answers. Let's go back to our content. Its direct competitor to Russia is the United States. There are also equally traumatic submarine disasters. Number is on 10/4 years, a 96BA nuclear-powered attack submarine. The U.S. Navy's USS Treasure is going through a deep dive test just outside of Boston, Thua 30 kilometers to the east. At that time, the Pressure. It's the fastest and quietest submarine in the world. It also has the most powerful weapon system. Pressure is built to find the destruction of Soviet submarines. It's equipped with a new sonar system. It can detect other ships at longer distances. The ship is also equipped with anti-aircraft missiles. The latest submarine of the U.S. Navy, Subrock A missile, launched from a submarine, deployed as an anti-submarine weapon. Subrock carries a 5-kilogram nuclear warhead, launched from a naval shipyard. Postmouth in New Hampshire, 9/7 years. A Ripe 60 Treasure is a prototype for 25 Treasure-class ships after conducting numerous sea trials, both in the Western Atlantic and the Caribbean. Treasure, back to Malone. Post 16/7 years, 1962, to conduct the final inspection and stay in port until 8/4 year a 96BA at 8 a.m., 9/4 years a 96BA, Treasure submarine, under the command of Lieutenant John Wesley Havey. 129 crew members departed the port. Then we went to the submarine rescue ship Sky Shaking. After many test divers, Treasure is still communicating underwater with this lifeboat. The next day, on April 10th, Treasure began a deep dive test. When the test depth is almost reached, Skylark got a call, "Tell, we're having a little bit of trouble with the angle." And then there's a discontinuity announcement. Another transmission that includes the phrase "beyond the test depth." Then, Skylark detected a low-frequency noise, high-energy characteristics of an explosion. They quickly predicted that's where the Treasure was, crushed by the tremendous pressure from the surrounding seawater. South Korea. The U.S. quickly launched an in-depth search, use of the Maya oceanography ship, and quickly found the wreckage of the hull. Treasure lies at the bottom of the sea at a depth of 2,600 meters. A court of inquiry. The Navy was called in to determine the cause of the accident, and concluded that Treasure has a fault in the saltwater pipeline connection. Cause high-pressure water to spray out. This could collapse an electrical panel, which causes a sudden shutdown of the nuclear reactor. After the Treasure sank, Admiral Hammer recovered. Create a quick recovery boot process. It allows a reactor. The kernel is restarted immediately. After an incident, Treasures can still float by blowing ballast tanks. That is, a water tank is used as ballast to provide stability for ship excess moisture in the ship's high-pressure ordnance frozen in cold water. and that ice clogs the surfaces. In case of emergency, high-pressure air ejects ballast water from ray-containing chambers, quickly lighten the ship so that it can quickly rise to the surface. But there's no propulsion, and there's no way to push the water out. Treasure begins to sink until detonated at depths from 400 to 610 meters. 2 U.S. troops later found 6 pieces of the ship at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. All 129 sailors on board were killed. In the 1960 BA investigation of the sinking Admiral Rickover announced, "I believe that the loss of treasure should not be considered solely as a result of weld failure specific system or component. It's a consequence of design philosophy, construction and inspection. It is allowed in our naval shipbuilding programs. I think it's important that we reassess our activities, my present, with the desire to make progress. We may have abandoned the basic principles of engineering." Another U.S. ally in Europe is France. I have a ship on this list. That's the Diazen Mineur. The ship was launched in the year 1961. It is one of 11 Daphne-class submarines, with a length of 7.8 meters diameter, 6.8 meters, and displacement is 883 tons, when floating 1.060 tons, when diving primarily on duty in the Mediterranean region. On 27 January 1906-8, Mineur submarine is crossing Lions Bay of the Mediterranean with a breathing tube. It's about 25 nautical miles from Toulon. The prison announced that an anti-submarine maritime patrol aircraft Beret Atlantic flying above. The captain announced that the ship would dock in about an hour. But that was the last contact. Between the submarine and the center commander, the ship mysteriously disappeared. Though it's not too far from the coast, Captain Andy Falf is a very experienced officer. 7,000 hours of diving in 4 years on submarines of the same class, and never had a problem. People think the weather is bad. That's the main reason the ship went missing. By the time the ship crashed, rough seas and extremely unsettled weather, not long after losing contact. Minev compilation 2 military French. They quickly launched a search and rescue operation, large scale with the participation of many aircraft ships. These include the aircraft carrier Clemenceau and the SPBA-50 Denis. But the rescue team didn't find any clues, and so the search and rescue operation ends on February 2nd, year 1968, then resumed in the year 1969. It's called the Remainder Campaign. The search was conducted by the deep-sea submarine Archimedes, operating at a depth of 9,100 meters with the ocean survey ship USN's Maya. On the American side, the search was once again in vain, when there aren't any clues to be discovered. Since then, Tower Miner gradually fell into oblivion, but for the relatives of the 52 sailors on board, the fact that they hadn't found the wreck made them miserable. Forever. Until May 15, 2018, Ralph Foch, Captain Andy Foch's son, along with some of the Mineur crew's relatives through the French media, to ask the Navy to conduct a new search this time. This is still the only missing Western submarine. It hasn't been found since the Second World War. The French government together, the Navy has launched a new search. On a large scale, same many modern devices from 4/7 years 2019. The search area this time was deployed in deep water. It's about 28 nautical miles south of Toulon. On 2 July year 2019, after 51 years missing. The wreck of the Minev submarine was found at a depth of 2,350 meters. With the hull broken into BA parts scattered within VSIC 300 meters under the sea, the ship's command tower was destroyed when the hull broke apart, due to the pressure of the sea, but the word tomorrow, the same number S647, can still be seen. This is an important detail that helps identify the Minev wreck. Vice Admiral Charles Henry Douche. The person in charge of the search campaign said that the Minev submarine will remain on the seabed. It's going to be a marine reserve. It is also a grave. For 52 crew on board. Cause of no accident still can't get the most satisfactory answer. People can't explain it either. The search for the ship. In previous times it turned on the mute, 2 large-scale search and rescue operations in the year 1968 and 1969 didn't get any results. While the search campaign 2019, it took only 18 days to find the wreck. Should be, the souls of the sailors on board led the search team. Find them so that their families can be safe. That's the fate of two submarines from the West. So what about Asian military submarines? Will they be lucky enough to escape this tragedy? Let's bring military knowledge to China. Country own a large and powerful submarine force, no less than the superpower in the world. But they also have serious problems. When on day 2, 5th of April 2003, crew on a Chinese fishing boat operating off the coast of Shandong province to detect a periscope submarine floating on the sea and report this strange phenomenon to the military. Suppose there's a South Korean or Japanese submarine infiltrating. Korean Army China immediately dispatched 2 warships to the scene of investigation when the ships arrive. The crew of the Chinese warship realized in surprise. This is a periscope from a diesel-electric submarine. In their processing, it's a type submarine. 035G, the Great Wall bearing the number BA61, when we open the door and get inside this submarine. April 26. They found all 70 people on board the submarine. They all died in their place. Chairman of the Central Military Commission. The president of China at the time was Jiang Zemin. Proclamation 2/5 years 203. Admits submarine BA6A. Crash 16/4 years 203 while participating in rehearsals. But he didn't give a specific reason. Submarine BA61 is one of the ship inherited its design from the Thai Balama class. It's a second-generation diesel-electric submarine. It is based on the Soviet Project 6BA-BA class. China continues to modernize its class of ships. Thai BA-5 in the 90s and equipped them with convex guides, Juba, along with the French deux-year hydrophone system that later China made the same equipment itself. In the year 195 BA Thai 03 Lama, class submarines with numbers ranging from BA-9 to BA-62 compound. The 12th Submarine Brigade of China's North Sea Fleet, stationed in Lu Nin in early April of the year 2003, shipped submarine BA-6A participating in naval exercises on the Powder Sea. According to sea route data, BA-6 Submarine 1 on 16/4 began to move in silence from the island field to its base at Weihai Shandong province. Because the radio communication signal is completely disconnected during the dive underwater, the Chinese Navy was unaware of the incident it encountered. Until we find the ship is free. On April 2nd, 5th, the Thai 035G class submarine has a crew of 55, but in an accident, there are 70 people on board the submarine BA-6. The Chinese Navy said 15 people out of commission. These are Navy Academy employees. To make paper speculating that they were on the submarine to observe drills or test new equipment, something special. Among the victims was a deputy governor who reported himself. Deputy director of the Naval Academy. He has a higher rank than a submarine captain. Officer, he holds the highest rank in a submarine. China is usually a naval colonel. One rank lower than the vice admiral. A month after the BA-6 submarine tragedy, a private command and China's North Sea Fleet political commissar was fired. 6 to 8 other officers demoted or dismissed violations committed in the work of command. China has kept the results of the investigation secret. Not published. What caused the submarine BA-6 to crash? Forcing military experts to come up with different theories. Some military experts say that ship underground BA-6A crashed when testing propulsion system independent use of air to increase the secrecy and time spent underwater. However, the most widely accepted theory is that crew on board underground BA-61 was suffocated from the ship's diesel engine. After a while of moving underwater by battery-powered motor, diesel submarine power usually have to float running the diesel engine to charge the battery in case you need to keep it secret. Submarines can move underwater and use snorkel to supply air for diesel engine. This breathing tube has a self-closing valve in case of being submerged underwater. This is more likely to happen when the ship underground BA-6 a secret moved to the port on the fateful day that episode Guangzhou's Southern Daily said officials did not exclude. The possibility that a crew member made a mistake killed when accidentally closing the ship's breathing valve when the diesel engine is running. No AI on the submarine recognized this malpractice, and the diesel engine keeps working. Without interrupting itself as designed, it burns all of the ship's air in 2 minutes. 70 people on board collapsed at the spot, and then he died from lack of oxygen. It's the Chinese accident. Disaster is closest to our time. It's also a neighbor in the ASEAN region. It's the Karoli Nanggala, also known as Nanggala Sea, a submarine of the Indonesian Navy, powered by 2-type electric diesel engine. 09-1300 class Kakra Nanggala was ordered in a Ripe 77 and launched in 1980 and launched in the year 1981. The ship has conducted operations to collect 10 intelligence in the Indian Ocean and the surrounding areas. East Timor, North Timor. Kari Nangangala participated in the International Cooperative Naval Exercise Ready to Train and was doing a crossing exercise with the USS Oklahoma City. In 2012, the ship underwent a major overhaul. On April 2, 2000, not 201. Nagala is missing after losing contact with staff on the water ship, was in a torpedo drill in the North Sea, Bali, and fired a suit torpedo before going missing. Navy Virtue submarine stores enough oxygen for about 3 days. Many ships are from Indonesia, as well as internationally engaged in the search for Nanggala. 3 days later, April 2nd, the Navy claims the Nagala has sunk. After discovering the wreckage of the ship, it's found on the water. Chief of the Navy Judo Makono announces a scan. It shows that the submarine is at a depth of 850 meters. According to reports, 53 sailors were killed. That's the largest number of casualties for a submarine since the Chinese submarine Page BA-6A malfunctioning in April 2003 years, the Indonesian submarine accident. I just finished my journey today. You can tell these are all serious submarine incidents, not just shows. The difficult lives of sailors. Off the coast, but it rings a bell. Alarm for ship industry development industry underground, speaking general. What do you think is the worst disaster? And leave you with the deepest impression? Please leave your comments below the comments.